Yo, what's up, Premium Chasers? Today, we're talking all about NVDA and AMD. We're going to be diving into the fundamentals of their companies. Are they overpriced? What are my plays with them? And also going over the technical analysis to see if there's any setups for us to get into either NVIDIA or AMD. Without further ado, let's go. All right, guys, now before we jump into analyzing AMD and NVIDIA, I want to let you guys know one lucky commenter down below will win an option strategy call with me personally, one-on-one, to talk all things options. But today, guys, is all about AMD and NVIDIA. We're going to be going over looking at if there's any setups for today for NVIDIA or AMD. We're going to be looking at some of their financials. I'm going to be giving you guys a couple free tools that you probably never heard about or even considered using that I like to use, especially when it comes to selling options. This channel, literally all we talk about is selling options every single day. We are the casino. We are not gamblers here. So if you like that and you want to be part of our community, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and join our free Facebook group. It's all positive vibes, people sharing the premiums they're collecting from these silly options buyers. It's fantastic. Okay, so let's kind of go over the shoulder, and this is where I like to when I'm comparing. It doesn't even matter if it's just NVIDIA or AMD. This is where I always start when I'm comparing two companies. Listen, some of you all call me old-fashioned, whatever. I don't care. All right, I'm just sharing you strategies that I like to use. Okay, so the first thing I actually like to do is I like to go over to MSN Money. Listen, I know, full stop. MSN Money, Pete, what are you talking about, bro? Like, MSN Money, who's using MSN Money? Listen, to me, I think this is the best place to have your watch lists. Like, that's just me. And you're going to see why in a second. For me, like, I think it's the best. It gives me only the information I need. It doesn't overload me to infinity and beyond with data. And it's just a nice tool. So one, obviously you can create like a bunch of watch lists here for yourself, but I use just this basic one when I'm comparing some companies. So what I'll do is I'll just add symbol here and I will type in the two companies that I'm looking to compare. And then I'll click another symbol and I will do NVIDIA. Listen, some of y'all coming at me hard with how I pronounce NVIDIA. Now I'm not gonna stop. All right. Now I'm not gonna stop. All right. So it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. So, but yeah. So basically, this will add in our two companies that we're comparing. Obviously, we have AMD and NVIDIA. Now I'm really self-conscious about saying it, but whatever. It is what it is. And what I like about it is usually in the mornings when I'm looking for my potential setups, I'm going to sort by my percentage change. Now, obviously, we take that with a grain of salt, but it'll at least let me know where should I look next, right? Like, hey, like maybe it had like a 10% drop yesterday, so a 1% gain today is like not a big deal. Could still be a good setup, right? So I take it with a grain of salt, but at least it starts letting me look, right? Especially when as your watch list grows, guys. Like you'll see, you'll probably have like hundreds of stocks in there and stuff. So you'll start getting a pulse on how your watch list kind of the stocks that kind of move more than others. So you kind of learn more about your portfolio. That's what I recommend. Like just get into it with 5 to 10 stocks that you're following every single day. It gives you obviously your basic stuff like on this par volume date range, 52-week range, and then your market cap. Obviously, like, when you're comparing companies like an AMD, right, 185 billion to a 3.4 trillion dollar market cap of NVIDIA is insanity, right? And this is just helpful information, but this isn't like the cool part, right? This isn't the cool part that I love using MSN Money for. I love it for these fundamentals tab, okay? This is awesome. I love this section because it gives me like a couple of the like most important pieces of like the financials that I need. And we're going to go into financials on the parts that I like to look at there in just a moment, but this is just like very high level, right? So I could see PE ratios, return on assets, equity, earning per shares, net margins. If there's I don't think this is right, but dividend yield, and then revenue growth. And this is nice because obviously, all of these pieces are important, right? Like AMD obviously has a ridiculously high PE ratio right now. Like that's definitely something to consider if I'm potentially wanting to get into the stock at these levels, right? Like oftentimes what we see with these companies is there's going to be a major pullback. We saw that with NVIDIA last week, right? But obviously short-term news, we got in and out of our cash secured puts. That's why I say join our Facebook community. It's down below in the description. I do plan to do something more organized, like either an organized group, or I'm going to do like a newsletter that I send you guys every morning. Because a lot of people on different platforms are hitting me up. They're like, oh, I don't use Facebook or this or that. And like, I'm trying to consolidate this all to like one area. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully towards the end of the month, as I have more time, I'm trying to like create something a little bit more official for all of us option sellers that want to just be surrounded with like-minded individuals that literally just want to talk about this and vibe out on it all day long. So let's get it. So again, the ROA. So this is actually an interesting one. That I read that in a book. What was it called? I'm trying to find it on my books. It was not a Warren Buffett. It was a book about Warren Buffett, but it was basically like financial analysis on what numbers Warren Buffett looks at. And obviously, like these kind of companies would be insane. But usually, I believe in that book, Warren Buffett was like between a 10 and a 20. He always wanted to see his return on assets at. Earnings per share, net margin, obviously dividend yield, and revenue growth. So again, this just gives me a high level overview of each company to see kind of like a high level overview comparing them, right? So like if we look at this, like which one's better, right? Like I think we all can agree, like we know, like if we look at NVIDIA right here, like if you had to pick one just based on numbers, right? Like, and at the end of the day, that's what we have to do. We have to be smart, right? This is a great, like, obviously NVIDIA beats AMD, right? From basically from PE, from returns, earnings per share, net margin, from revenue growth, right? Every single thing. But that's not to say that AMD is not a great company. I actually have been an investor in AMD longer than NVIDIA. So I personally like to be in both, but with that said, I think we're in like a bit of a bubble here. And I'm a little nervous for both companies. So let's go take a look at the next step that I like to do with these, right? So next I will actually go over to Yahoo Finance. I do like to use TradingView as well, but I know most of you like to do Yahoo Finance here on YouTube. So we'll be talking here, and I think it's for beginners, especially option sellers. We like to keep things simple as option sellers, right? We just want our information to make educated decisions for our setups and not be creating abstract art on charts, which it never ends well. I'm telling you, it just doesn't end well for you. So what I like to do is I always like to look at financials of companies. And there's only a couple pieces that I like to look at. I'm not going to dive into most of them, but basically I like to obviously make sure revenue is obviously growing. I like to look at net income, obviously. But then most importantly, I like to look at free cash flow, which if you just go to this cash flow tab right here, and then you look at this free cash flow, obviously I like to see that growing. So you could see like AMD in ways, right here, kind of like dropped a bit and kind of recovered a bit right here, right? So just stuff to it's information, right? It's information to look at. Obviously, like there's a lot of these growth companies, they don't even have free cash flow, right? So, that's definitely something to consider, right? Because you're betting that they will in the future. So let's go take a look at NVIDIA here and see what theirs is looking like, what their free cash flow is looking like. And we'll go over to our financials, and then we'll go to cash flow, and then we'll look at it here. And you could just see, I mean, it also kind of like ping pong, right? 4 million, 8 million, 3 million, 27 million, like to the moon. So yeah, it's interesting, right? But still, it's not as overpriced as AMD, which is very interesting, right? So let's go take a look at some very basic technical analysis for both of these companies. And this is important for you to do. Like when I try to look at my setups every morning before I post them inside of our Facebook group, I like to look at, hey, what's happening in pre-market, and does that pre-market stuff actually hold? Right? And then not only that, I'm obviously looking at like closes from last day. So I'm just creating a couple like theses in my mind and just writing them down to keep an eye out on open. The last thing you want, if you're like especially like gonna start taking this more seriously, is to not have a plan in the morning and then you're like on X or whatever you're on, and then just be super sidetracked because like everybody else is telling you their plays. Like, no, like stick to your plan, whatever that might be. And don't get like sidetracked by other people's plans. Okay. Stick to what you're looking at. If it's only one company that morning, okay. You don't want to be over trading. Okay. So let's take a look at the chart here. So we're going to start in the video here at the chart. So looking at here, we have our Bollinger Bands, which basically tells us the range. Again, technical analysis is a fugazi, guys. Don't let nobody knows if a stock is going up or down, but it helps us build a thesis. So for the most part with the Bollinger Band, it tells us a range that a stock is likely to trade in, right? So here, and you can see there's a pattern, right? Hits the top of the Bollinger Band, retracts. Hits the top of the Bollinger Band, retracts. Hits the bottom of the Bollinger Band, retracts, right? Sometimes it goes past, but then it starts coming back to reality, right? So right now we're between this middle Bollinger Band and this top one. So for me right now, this isn't necessarily a place that I would do anything with NVIDIA, right? This right here is our 200-day moving average. You could see we are well above it. It's 125. Our 200-day moving average for NVIDIA is $125, and we're currently trading around 139, right? I try my best to get my cash secured puts in close to that, right? It doesn't always happen. If it's a company I really want to get in, it might not happen. But like in a case like this, where this 200-day moving average is kind of in that Bollinger Band area, it would be something where I want to try to get in, obviously below that if possible, right? But if not, like I'm gonna be patient, right? Like it's very important. Like I can't stress this enough. Like patience, especially when selling options, is so important. I know we all would just want to get out there, deploy our capital or our stocks as collateral to make those premiums. But if you're a little bit more patient, and especially over the year, you're going to have way better returns. Okay. So right here, I'm not seeing necessarily too many good setups. I like to be closer to the top of this Bollinger Band, so closer to 150 if I'm going to sell covered calls. And then I like to be towards the bottom of the Bollinger Band if I'm going to start getting into some selling put territory, meaning I'm willing to buy 100 shares of it. So I'm not seeing anything too interesting right now. So this to me right now wouldn't be something I look at. Now it's on my watch list. If market opens, something crazy happens, I'm in, right? But it's not something that I'm going to be monitoring like very closely at the open. So let's go over to AMD right here. So this one's interesting, right? So right here you could see AMD took a bounce, and you could see like it's been bouncing off for the most part lately. It's been bouncing off the bottom of Bollinger Band and retracting, bouncing. It's like it's hitting that resistance almost of like 117 right now. It got past the 117 a little bit here, but then like we've been kind of like struggling right here toward like around right here, right? So it's interesting that we haven't actually gone past that. I'm actually kind of surprised by that. So there is some resistance toward this middle Bollinger Band here. So this would be could be actually a setup. So what I'm saying right now is we could see that once we kind of hit this top of the Bollinger Band, we start kind of like you could see there's like a downward trend, right? Our middle Bollinger Band's at 117, right? But we're kind of like in this downward trend. So we hit it, right? And we start getting lower. Then we hit it, but that middle Bollinger Band is now lower, right? And we kind of keep kind of going it. So, this will be something that I could be looking at right now at open, because I think if we get a little bit closer to the top of the Bollinger Band, we might go even lower at that point, right? Our and this middle Bollinger Band, guys, that's my 30-day moving average that I have set on my indicator. For those of you wondering, I like to do a 30-day for my Bollinger Band that you're seeing right here for my middle one, because the reason I do that is because most of my options I'm doing short term. I'm trying to get in and out of trades fairly quickly, either get assigned, then sell covered calls against them. I just running the quad option strategy on that, right? And I have a full playlist here on YouTube. If you have no idea what I'm talking about and this all sounds foreign to you and you're confused, it's all free down below in the description. It's a playlist here on YouTube. So interesting. So lately, like I said, like it looks like we're just bouncing off this middle Bollinger Band and just retracting. So either today or tomorrow, we might bounce off this, right? And then just kind of come back down here. And if we get down to levels like this like 107 under 110 level, that's going to be cash secured put time, right? I guarantee those are going to be really juicy positions. Me personally, I don't buy AMD over 100. Like I personally, no, like I'm just not, right? Because of the P ratios, I think it's a great company for sure. I just think it's overpriced. For me, I don't buy it over 100. I don't even like buying it like even in the 90s. Like I like to be like under 90 even with AMD. So I'll be looking at like 80 puts or something like that. Even though I might collect less premium, whatever. I cut that premium and just move on with my life. Or even if I do like something around like 85 or something, I guarantee if it's in a downward trend and it hits like 107 again here maybe this week, those premiums a month out are still going to be pretty nice, and we'll definitely be taking a look at that. So guys, that's it for today's video comparing AMD and NVIDIA. If you guys liked it, make sure to like and subscribe. All we talk about here is selling options, so if you want to join our awesome community of option sellers, make sure to go down below into the description of today's video and click that first link for our free Facebook group. Remember guys, sell options, collect premiums, repeat. I will see you tomorrow.